This is my grandma, Cao Bien. She'll be talking about her life in Vietnam from 1930 until she came here in 1993. She'll mostly be talking about her father, who was a member of the Vietnamese Nationalist Party in the 1940s, and they fought against the French, and she can go into more detail about that.
Đã về làm việc 8 tuổi về làm rồi.
I grew up in the countryside, and my whole life I had to work. But starting at 8, I had to work. I had to go to school and work in the fields to take care of the family. Yeah.
Bà ngoại thì nuôi 3 đứa con vất vả.
My mom raised 3 kids without my dad because he was in prison.
Nghe ông ngoại đi.
Kể ông ngoại, hỏi ông ngoại đi.
Nói chuyện
ông ngoại.
Okay.
Bố mẹ đi. Đi tối con em. Con em. Con đảo. 8 năm mới đi.
My father was in prison at Gom Sum for 8 years. I didn't meet him until I was 8 years old. Well, before he went to prison, he went to Hanoi University, and he studied with Nguyen Thái Học, who is the leader of the Vietnamese Nationalist Party.
Học cùng lớp mà cùng bàn với nhau. Hai người cùng bàn với nhau ở.
They sat in the same table, in the same class. They were friends before the Vietnamese Nationalist Party came into existence. Nguyen Thái Học, the leader, asked her dad to join him to fight against the French, who were collecting heavy taxes, and the civilians didn't have money to pay it, so they starved. They starved to death. In 1930, in one of the battles in Yên Bai, next to Hanoi, they were fighting against the French, but they lost. The French arrested the leaders of the Nationalist Party, and were going to execute 60 of the members and officials. Her dad was one of them. Her dad managed to escape with the help of his dad. His dad helped serve in the French army in the World War I against the Germans. So he filed paperwork to excuse her dad from being executed. So instead, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The French ended up executing 12 of the leaders of the Nationalist Party, and her dad's friend, the leader, Nguyen Thái Học, was one of them. There's a story of her dad when he was in prison. They would only let him eat ram, which was rotten fish, for his meal, and he couldn't stand it. So he managed to somehow meet with the official of Indochina, like the whole Indochina area at that time, and he said, "I'm in prison because I love my country, not because I'm a thief, a murderer, or anything else. You look at me like I'm nothing, but I only love my country like you love yours. Can you give me something better to eat?" I guess he was able to convince the official to give him better food for him and his fellow prisoners. So after that, they were given meat, fish, and better food to eat. After the 1 year after he was released, he was rearrested by the French. He wasn't released again until 1945 when the French lost to the Japanese in World War II. He moved the family from the countryside to Hanoi to live in the city after he was released.
Nó mà đi lên mà đi rách bụng ra nó mới gan đi phố đi đường.
There she saw the Japanese military in Hanoi, but when the Japanese lost to the Americans in August 18th, 1945, she saw them commit suicide by dragging a knife down their whole torso, and their organs spilled out, and she saw all of that on the streets. The Japanese weren't any better than the French. They forced the civilians to grow.
Chồng đi chung này làm bao cát thì trong bom đạn Pháp của Mỹ Nhật nó làm cái này trong bom đạn của Mỹ.
Của Mỹ, đúng rồi.
Bắt làm gì?
Nó làm cái sợi dây này dài lắm.
Trồng đay. Trồng đay là nó
trồng cái đay.
They forced the civilians to grow a certain kind of tree that was used as a bag made into a bag to defend against the American bombs. Because of that, the civilians couldn't grow the rice. 2 million people starved to death under the Japanese.
Nè, bọn hai ba đình đông lắm. Bà cũng đi, hay 35 tuổi và bà bán nhiêu đồng.
On August 19th, after the Japanese loss, Ho Chi Minh told all the civilians to go protest in Baden Square. She went as well, and she was 15 at that time. There was another protest on September 2nd. He called all the civilians, the whole country, whole city, to go to Baden Square again. They closed all the schools, all the businesses, just for the protests. And he called for independence for Vietnam that day.
Có, nó đứng ở trên khán đài tuyên bố độc lập thì bà đứng dưới bàn lên dưới đồng thì đứng dưới đấy gần từ đây ra chỗ xe hơi thì.
She said
hai chục thước.
She said she saw him at the protest, and they were about 20 meters apart, but it was pretty close.
Ông ấy đứng một cách mà bà một thước từ đến đây bạn.
She said she met him again in the Hoàng Kim Lake in Hanoi. This time he was from here to the table, apart from her.
Cho tay ông bắt thì mà ông ở kia ông cô cho mẹ đen. Ông mới chừng là 40 tuổi ông bắt tay bố mọi người bắt tay mà ông dám bắt tay trong ngoài sợ lắm.
She thought he was scary. He offered to shake hands with all the people in that room, but she was too scared to actually shake hands with him, so he moved on to someone else. At the end of October, I'm thinking he came back to Vietnam, and he has the two main political parties of Vietnam, the Nationalist Party and another party, to go meet up so they can set up a new government for the country of Vietnam. And her dad was one of the officials who went to that meeting. The meeting was a cover. It was pretty much a cover for. So there were 76 people who went. the meeting went from 8 in the morning till 9 at night, when Ho Chi Minh was let the members go into the cars. He had all of them assassinated, not after the meeting, under the cover of saying we can unite for a new government. He had them in the car, and he killed every single one of them. Her dad was the only one who survived. They had the bodies taken to a morgue in the hospital. The only reason why he was able to live was because the person in charge of the hospital felt that his body was still warm. So they changed his clothes, because he's wearing an official suit, to a peasant clothing, like just black pajama pants, black shirt. They bandaged his wounds, and they call a sick glow for him to go home. When he went to the door, my grandma opened the door. She didn't recognize who he was. Not until he started speaking that she realized it was her dad. It was 2 bullets got into his eye, but I guess they didn't explode. He also had 2 bullets hit his cheek and destroyed his teeth, his gum line, his mouth. Then they realized it was Ho Chi Minh who, well, she didn't know before that Ho Chi Minh was the one who had tried to get him assassinated. So after they learned that, her mom cleaned him up, changed him into better clothes, cleaned his wound, and sent him to the hospital. He stayed at the hospital for a couple months before he went to exile in China. Nhưng mà tại sao mà lại đi? In 1954, when the country was split, her family was afraid of the communists after what they did to her dad. So the first thing they did was pack up and leave. When her husband, like I said, was part of the South Vietnamese Army, Air Force, so he was forced into a re-education camp for 7 years. So that's why she was the only one able to bring money into the family to feed 10 kids, her mother-in-law and herself. But after he served 7 years in the re-education camp, somehow the Americans sponsored any South Vietnamese Army officials over to America, and they were both able to come to America with 2 of their kids. The rest had escaped by boat before then.
Would you thank her from all of us? And we said thank you for the interview.
Cảm ơn này. Nó nói xong nó quay xong rồi. Nói cảm ơn.
Bà đi Mỹ đi thương quá đi. Sang đây nó lạnh nó 2 chân, bà mổ 2 chân.
She said it was really nice here in America compared to back there. Mà nói cảm ơn.
Không có gì.
You're welcome.